Welcome to episode 15 of WP Bosses. We have Sridhar Katakam here with us tonight, and we're going to be asking him a few questions. But before we do that, we're going to just say hello to everyone. Paul, who are you?
Hi guys, my name's Paul, and I run a couple of businesses, one being Gold Coast Business Websites. We build WordPress websites and offer training, and the other business is WP Genie, Website Care Service. Thanks very much.
Nick, who are you?
Well, hello there. I'm Nik Cree, and I run a freelance development agency specialising in Genesis. And we're called Positive Business Online. Work for the small to medium business market, and primarily build websites that generate inquiries, leads, and hopefully convert to sales. And I live up in Mount Tamborine, up in the country.
Cool. Tracey, who are you?
I'm Tracey Kemp. I've got a small business called Get Web Creative, and I do front-end web development. Some of it with Genesis, and a lot of it
Is Tracey still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. I thought you'd frozen for a second. I am Robey Lawrence, and I'm in Port Macquarie, New South Wales. I run a web business called Bearded Friend, where I have a beard, so you don't have to. I also run a side business like Paul. My maintenance business is called the WP Barber, where we keep your website groomed. Sridhar, who are you?
Yeah, hi. My name is Sridhar. I live in Melbourne, and I'm originally from India. And I write tutorials on Genesis and WordPress at sridharkatakam.com, and it's nice to be here.
Excellent. Thanks for coming. Tracey, have you got some news surrounding meetups for us?
I do. Rather than read them all out this month, we'll just try a different format. I'll just let you know that if you haven't seen it already, any ups in your area are now being showed in the events and news section of the website dashboard. So yeah, there's not really much point in me reading them all out. Go to your website, go to the dashboard and have a look. Then you can also find them on wpbosses.com.au or meetup.com.
Cool. Nick, do you have any business tips?
Well, I probably do, actually. The business tip today is really looking at the Google speed test. There's a site that Google provides at developers.google.com/speed/paid/insights. And what that does is gives you a ranking for your mobile site and for your and for your desktop site as to how Google rates it in terms of its acceptability, its speed, its performance. What I have noticed recently is that when we're running that test for sites, when we're getting reasonably good scores, it's really hard to get 100%, but we were getting into the 80s. When we go back and run these tests now, some of them are getting into the 50s and 60s. We've seen one drop down to 40. Nothing's really changed with these WordPress websites. So my suspicion is that Google have changed their algorithm slightly, or probably more than slightly. And I think part of that is prefacing the fact that Google is heading towards mobile first, in the sense that that their search rankings, they're going to be preferencing sites that are quick on mobile and perform well on mobile. So I think they've actually changed that algorithm for there. So if you have a WordPress site and you haven't tested it on that page speed insights, it'd pay to go in and do it again. Because you probably need to think about what you can do to start to tweak the speed of the site to start to get it up. Often people don't worry too much about speed, but it's just one of those things that I think we can't ignore now. And if you want to get reasonable rankings and just make sure that you're keeping ahead of the competitors, then it's important to get these speed things right. So some of the things that we do is we use Cloudflare a lot now. So we're putting sites onto the CDN network with Cloudflare. We're doing as much optimization as we can, image optimization, and we're looking at trying to combine CSS, HTML, and JavaScript so we can minify that as much as possible. Just a caveat there. Sometimes if you minify, try and get all your JavaScript and minify that as much as possible. That actually does break the site. So you just need to test some of those things and see, whether your site's actually performing okay and everything's working well. You can do all of that inside the Cloudflare dashboard, or there are a number of tools and WordPress plugins that you can use for it as well. So it's probably just, I'm not sure there's a right way to do it. But we've really just discovered that some plugins work reasonably well, some are not that good, and if you're working with Cloudflare, you really do need to test them to see whether the plugins in Cloudflare actually play nice together, because often they don't. So but still, speed is one of those things that we do need to pay attention to. So yeah, if you haven't checked your site recently, go to developers.google.com/speed/page speed/insights and just check it, and then have a look at some of the tools that are available there to just extract a bit more speed out of your site, particularly on mobile. So that's my business tip for today.
Speaking of Cloudflare, has anyone tried their new product called Argo? It's apparently DNS routing optimization. So it's kind of when you're driving somewhere and you've got the Waze app or the Google Maps app, and it detects traffic down the road, and so it suggests alternative routes for you to take. That's kind of how Cloudflare's new product works. Has anyone? I haven't tried it yet, but I'm curious.
I've had a bit of a play with it. I really haven't done enough with it to, get any sense of, the value of it, or what it's doing in terms of performance. But it does look like a good thing. But it probably, for me, I just need to do a bit more work with it to see what we can extract out of it.
Yeah, it seems like the kind of thing that's more useful if you have a global audience for your website, rather than just people in the same country. It'd be interesting to run some tests. Anyway, Paul.
One thing I want to add to what Nik said is the fact that one extra level of optimization that can be done is to ensure that the JavaScripts are loaded only where they are required. You use a plugin, they get loaded on all the pages of the website. So we should ensure that the JS files are loaded only on the pages where it's actually being used.
Yeah, good tip.
Good idea.
Yeah, Paul.
Right.
If I want to keep my website healthy,
you got to take it to the website doctor every 6 months.
What about the barber?
Oh, you could take it to the barber. Yeah, WP Barber. Yeah. You can get them to look after your site for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, good idea.
It's a plug. So what was the website address again? wpbarber.co.
Co.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so just take your website to wpbarber.co and they will look after everything for you. From plugin updates to theme updates to WordPress core to fixing those niggly bugs that just come up now and again that are really frustrating and soak up all your weekend, and you just don't have a life and you just think you're just online all the time. So yeah. Anyway,
all of the above.
All of the above, yeah. Anyway, so on the back of Nik's talk about page speed and also website load speeds and stuff like that, there's one thing that I probably I might have mentioned in the past. I can't actually remember, but if you haven't done a plugin audit yet, then maybe it's time to do a plugin audit. Only because, like, you know, some people can go crazy on their plugins and update, sort of install plugins like, oh, that looks pretty shiny and new, and then they don't, you know, you don't really do anything with it. But those plugins that you could be over installing could be actually slowing down your site as well. It could also be slowing down your admin. It's one thing I've been noticing a couple of sites that I've been managing, is a couple of sites have got huge amounts of plugins, and the WP admin, it loads like incredibly slowly. So what do? You just got to go through each one of the plugins and find out which is the culprit. And you do that by just deactivating all the plugins and then just switching on one at a time to see which one makes the stall, I guess. Well, that's what I've done anyway, and that sort of worked. But if you've gone plugin crazy, I think it's probably time you went through, did an audit, and said, okay, do I need this? Is it essential? Is it an essential functionality for my site? And if it isn't, then get rid of it. And just write a list down. You know, get a database and just spreadsheet it, and you know, because that sort of adds on to page speeds, and there could be just, you know, code that's firing off that you don't really actually need. You know, for example, you could be installing I think that's like any font or something, or like a font plugin that could be pulling a font from Google. Well, you could actually load that font directly onto your website, onto your server. So then it's not actually having to call that font from, say, Google Fonts. You could actually install it directly on your server. So then it's sitting there, and it's just one less call out to to an external, you know, API or place. So,
and like
anyway.
Sridhar was saying, you might have heaps of plugins on there that you're not even using that are calling unnecessary JavaScript files on all your pages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And one thing I want to add to what Paul said is that when you have a lot of plugins, like say 20 or 30, and you want to troubleshoot and you want to find out which is the problem causing one, instead of going and deactivating one by one, it's better to use FTP. You create a new directory called plugins-temp, and simply drag the plugins in a bunch into this temporary directory, and so they get deactivated automatically when they're not present. So just reload the site and see, and then move things back through FTP drag and drop. It's much easier and faster.
Good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Just one piece of news before we move into the questions. WordCamp Brisbane is coming up on the 22nd and 23rd of July, which is just 3 weeks from now. Isn't that crazy? That's crept up very, very quickly. You can still get tickets. I think last time I checked, there was about 60, roughly, tickets left. If you go to 2017.brisbanewordcamp.org/tickets, if you want that URL again, that's 2017.brisbane.wordcamp.org/tickets. I'll put that in the show notes. Okay, moving on to some questions. Sridhar, are you ready?
Yes.
Excellent. Tell us what your working life was like before your Genesis Tutorials website.
Before that, I was working as a support moderator at iThemes. iThemes has a product called Builder, which is like a drag and drop theme framework. So I was their support moderator. Initially, I was a part-time moderator working about 3 to 4 hours a day. At that time, I also had a full-time job at SAP Labs. I was a UI designer over there, but my primary job was just working in Photoshop. And there was a product called Toolbook by a company called SumTotal Systems. So I used to work on Toolbook. I used to work on Flex, Adobe Flex. So my job was to create and build demos for the client portals and to brand the client portals and make logos using Photoshop. So after that, I purchased a copy of the Builder theme. So I started actively helping people in their forum. They asked me if I want to come on board as a part-time support moderator. I said yes. So after doing that for about 6 months, they offered me a full-time job. So I resigned my regular job and started doing everything online full-time. So I worked at iThemes for about 2 years before I gave Genesis a try and switched to Genesis.
Wow, okay. So you're a busy boy.
Yes.
Were you still living here then, Sridhar? Or had you already moved to been in Melbourne?
I'm sorry, your voice is cut off. I couldn't hear you.
I said, how long have you been living in Melbourne? Were you still in India when you were doing all of that, or had you already moved here?
Yeah, when I was in SAP Labs, I was still in India, in Bangalore. And I then joined iThemes. Even then I was in Bangalore. After that, it's been 2 years since we came to Australia. Initially, we were in Sydney for a short while, and then we later came to Melbourne because my wife got a job here. So it's been 2 years and it's nice. I like it here.
Must be a lot colder here though than what you're used to.
Yeah, there are two things that I miss: the crowd, the people, and the hot weather.
Wow.
So you miss both of those things.
Because, here when you go outside on the road, especially where I live, it's just like a resort, and there's hardly any people. When I see anybody on the road, I feel happy. So there's a lot less activity, very peaceful life over here, and but the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages of living here. You have clean air, clean water, almost no pollution. At least that I can feel outside on the road. It's quite good.
Yeah, right. So you mentioned that you're working with iThemes, and then you gave Genesis a try. What was it that really attracted you to Genesis? Because you predominantly use Genesis now, don't you? That's your main vehicle for building websites. Yeah. What was it that really sort of drew you to it, and what keeps you with it? Why do you like it so much?
Well, initially when I tried Genesis, I was still working at iThemes, and I didn't like Genesis. I was like, when I want to make a change in a template file, in a view, like a single post, when I go to that single.php, there was nothing. It was just like an index.php that has something like silence is golden. So I was used to actually seeing the loop and making changes to individual elements of the loop to get the desired, they make the change. So Genesis like abstracts everything, and you hardly see anything in the loop. There's no loop that you can see of the templates. There are no templates at all. So it was quite frustrating, and I really hated Genesis to begin with. So after about 2 or 3 months, and I had some issues with iThemes. We had some differences, so I had to quit iThemes. And I started wondering as to what I would be doing then, whether I should continue to do freelancing full-time using iThemes Builder. If yes, is this still a good product? Maybe there are some alternatives which are better. So I purchased a bunch of themes, just not Genesis. I've also purchased Ultimatum. And there is this Divi. It was called something else by Elegant Themes. I don't remember the name. So I purchased a bunch of themes, and I started going through all of them, giving them a second try. And then slowly Genesis started making sense to me. I went through the Studio Press community forums, and then I started seeing what people are asking. I tried to recreate those problems in my local host, solve them, and as part of this process, I understood what Genesis is about and how it lays out the page and the beauty and the efficiency of it. So once it started making sense, I shared all my findings in my website, as free tutorials for 2 years. But as the popularity grew, there were many people who were coming into my blog posts and trying to get solutions to their problems, which are based on my tutorials, and the support load was simply too much. I just didn't have enough time to help all the people that were asking for help. And then I thought, maybe there is a market for this. People have these questions, and there is no one place where they can go and get reliable support, which is not like when it comes to support, there are two things that you can do. You can provide an answer, and you can provide a solution. An answer is something like, it's just simple. You download Chrome, there is something called DevTools, you inspect it, you write the code. That's the answer. But the solution actually involves, recreating the problem on your computer and sharing the exact step-by-step details to the user. People are ready to pay for that. People want that support. People want reliability. So after 2 years of providing free tutorials, I just added membership one fine day without any notice to anybody, because I'm just a single person. I'm not a company. So, and initially there was some inertia with 1 or 2 people, but mostly majority were okay. And then it's been 2 years after I added the membership, and yeah, it's almost 4 years since I started my website now.
Well, I remember when you first started doing those tutorials, and when I stumbled across them, they were just absolute gold. And because I was used to going to the Genesis forums and asking questions there, and I'd contribute some things back to there as well too. But your ones were quite different in the sense that what we got to see was your thinking behind it. So it wasn't, so as you say, it wasn't just the answer, but it was, what's the problem, and then what's the step-by-step solution that we get there to, to actually solve this. And I think, when you started, when you set up your membership site, and I think you were asking $10, I think, a month, something like that there. Yeah. I was probably one of your very first customers, because I thought this place is just absolute gold. I can't let it go, because this is where I go all the time. If I need a question, this is where I go all the time. And 90% of the time, what was that? What I was looking for was there on your site. And you've just developed this incredible resource now that would be the premium place to go for anyone who's wanting to learn WordPress. And I think one of the I suppose one of the things that's a key value is that with the proliferation of drag and drop themes and plugins and those sort of things that are around, your tutorials there really sort of dig in and help people to understand how Genesis works. Not just you can just build something without code, but you really dig in and so people can really understand how it works. And I think that's the sort of value of it. Is that what you intended?
See, it basically comes down to a few things, in that I like helping people, whether it is free support or paid support. Even now, when I have a paid membership website, when I see some questions being asked in the Facebook group and also in Genesis WP Slack, which I started, by the way, and also in Twitter with the Genesis WP hashtag, most of the time, if I know that this person is not a part of my website already, is not a member, he or she is not a member, I still go ahead and give them the solution without any charge or anything. So my point is that it basically helps the person understand how to solve that problem which they're immediately facing. So they can then go ahead and complete that website that they need to show to the client. So if you help someone, it just makes them happy. And also when they say thank you, that appreciation is what inspires me. And also coming to your question as to the proliferation of the drag and drop builders versus using Genesis, which is mostly making changes to the code. I personally believe in I personally value the brevity of the HTML output. When you use a drag and drop page builder, even something like Beaver Builder or iThemes Builder, because of the nature of the flexibility and the ease of use that it provides, that plugin or the theme provides, the HTML output that's that appears on the page, it's so extraneous. It has like lots of tags and HTML stuff, and looking at all that, it just makes me nauseous. A person who always looks at the generated HTML code, and even if there's a single tag or a class that's not useful, I think about removing it. Minimum output as possible is what I believe in. So that's what I try to do in my tutorials, in the way that I solve problems and share with others.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you really like helping people, and you really just added the cost on the membership site to allow you to help people full time as your job.
Yeah, that's because I was hoping that I will be offered a job or something by StudioPress, just like how I got a job at iThemes. Mm-hmm. I never actually approached them or asked them to give me a job because StudioPress has their own technical support team. But then when it comes to the support that's offered by StudioPress, it's more like if something is not working with the core Genesis itself, then they give support. The question as to the customization of a child theme, that's not something that they do because it's a customization. It's not a theme support job. Yeah, it's just not the StudioPress. It's almost any plugin or theme that typically is the scope of support.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. So just carrying on from your just your thoughts about those theme builders. Are you for or against theme builders, and do they have a place?
I was against theme builders, but recently I have tried Beaver Builder because the website that I have built for a client, that particular lady, she wanted me to use the page builder. So I used Beaver Builder, and I really like the way that it makes easy to create templates out of individual rows and the collection of rows, and we can reuse those templates on other pages. So it basically makes the process of building a website much faster, much easier. But at the same time, when I look at the generated output, I was not happy. But I feel it's like a acceptable compromise. A compromise that I am willing to do if the situation demands for it, if the client asks for it. But if somebody gives me the total freedom to build a website, I wouldn't use it.
So is it a question of looking at whether the client is going to be active in the website, has got no real coding knowledge, then you can use it, or whether you're in total control in terms of the creativity of the site, and that you're building something that is reasonably static in the sense that the client's not going to be in there doing too much?
See, if the client is not going to touch the website, I actually prefer building it in Genesis without a page builder, because if they need some customization, they'll come back to me, and that means more money to me. Whereas, so the page builder I use only when the client is somebody who is like a do-it-yourself person. So they know a little bit of HTML, they want to tinker, but they're not fully confident enough to build the website themselves. So those kind of do-it-yourself people who actually know about page builders, who themselves ask me to use it, is when I use it. But yeah, I'm not 100% against them. As I said, I am okay with them with a few reservations like this, and I only need them when I only use them when I need to.
Yeah.
Hey Sridhar, can we talk about your membership, because that's kind of where I'm a little bit interested. So how's it going? Like, what are your numbers, and like how many subscribers do you have, and how do you sort of build your subscriber base?
Okay, just a sec. I don't want to give random figures, so I'll just quickly switch to my website and go back to MemberPress. So MemberPress is the plugin that I'm currently using for the membership aspect of it. But if I were to start today, I'll probably use something like WooCommerce subscriptions with WooCommerce membership combination. Just because I believe that WooCommerce specifically uses lots of hooks and filters, and it makes it incredibly easy to customize the various views in your membership website. Okay, so so last time I checked, the page is still loading. Okay, it has come up. So I have about 600 active members and 1,400 inactive members. So inactive members are the ones who, as the name says, have forgotten to continue their subscription. They may come back. Some people, they drop subscription, they cancel them or pause it, and they come back and resume it later. And not all of these 600 members are paying the full price of $47 a month, because when I started the membership, it was only $10 a month. Yeah. It was at that price for quite some time. And after that, again, just like the same problem has reoccurred, the support load was too much. Even with $10 a month, there were many people who had joined, and all of them were asking and bombarding me with questions. So I thought the only way to, get me some time to write some new tutorials rather than always be helping with existing ones is to limit the number of people who come into me, and the one way is to increase the price. So I just did the calculations and made it $47 a month.
How did you find people? How did you find the reaction of people when you upped the price?
There were a couple of people who had some issues with it. They were like, why should you even make it $10? It was just one or two, but everybody else supported. And I run my membership website business is that I actually do not advertise or talk about it anywhere unless I'm asked. So even in even if I write a tutorial, I almost write a tutorial like one in every 1-2 days now. Earlier it used to be 2 or 3 in a day. So whenever I write a tutorial, I do not use this Genesis WP hashtag, but without the hashtag. So I do not actively promote or try to get traffic into my website, because those who see the audience of my of my membership website are people who build websites themselves, and mostly it's for clients. It's not for themselves. It's for clients. So these people are already in the community in various places like Twitter, Facebook, and Slack. So anybody who is into Genesis already knows me, and they know all the tutorials that I write. So it's basically through word of mouth and that good reputation that I've built that people find me and join, rather than me trying to go out, market myself and get into my site.
You come up a lot in search engines as well for specific keywords or specific questions anyway related to Genesis.
Yes.
So I think that's how I found you, and I started using your tutorials before you became a membership site, and then when you decided to put a membership paywall behind it, I thought there was a bit of a no-brainer behind it. So I'm one of your early adopters, so I still pay you $10 a month. But yeah, I think it's really great. So I still look for a few code snippets now and again, and find you sort of around on the web. So so it's really cool.
I'm all over the web. If you do anything with WordPress and Genesis, you are most likely to come across a code snippet that I've written. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know like how many people visit your site from search. So you probably got all that data. and you don't have to tell us now, but it'd be interesting to know how many people actually find you, and then what your conversion rate is from people who find you to then actually sign up to your membership. That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
How much you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually kind of lazy in that I spend a lot of time and effort into doing code, solving code problems. But when it comes to trying to increase the membership of my website or revenue or doing some A by B split tests and all that, I ignore that. I don't even care. I don't even do anything with search engine optimization, whether it is natural or paid. So everything, all the traffic that I get is organic.
Yeah, cool.
So you sound like a typical web developer who works on everyone else's stuff but not your own, and it just happens naturally.
Yeah. So even if you look at my website today, it just looks so outdated with that blue color, and there's no other color, just blue and white. If I am somebody who is new to Genesis or trying to build WordPress websites, and I come across my website as a visitor, I will probably be turned off. I mean, it looks like a website that's done some 15, 20 years ago. And I'm not a designer, even though I actually had UI designer as one of my designations in my previous jobs. So
I think what you're describing is what most of us think about. I absolutely hate my website.
Yeah.
I've developed it so many times, and I think it's such an embarrassment for clients to go to.
Yeah.
This is the showcase. It's like they come here and they think, well, this guy is just absolutely terrible. But, I still get work, so it's obviously not that bad. So, and
they're not looking at your website.
Base, so hey, look, at the end of the day, it's all about the information, isn't it?
Yeah, see, when you do a search for portfolio in my website, there'll probably be about 60 or 70 results. I've written so many tutorials on portfolios. I don't even have a portfolio page on my website.
But you teach other people how to build portfolios on their Genesis sites.
Yes.
I think at the same time, that kind of makes sense, though, that you've kind of got that bare bones Genesis theme going on there. So people come to your site, they're familiar with it, and they go, hang on, I recognize that immediately as Genesis.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter that you're not tutorials, because they can see all these articles that you've written and know, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. He's just not showing off on his own website.
Okay, that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from this tutorial membership website, I also have a website called genesiscustomizations.com. So people can go to that website, and if they have any query regarding customizing their existing WordPress website that is built upon Genesis, then they can get me to do it for $120 per hour. That's my second or side business. And recently I have started something called a functionality theme. The concept is that nowadays we have these typical web design trends where you have like a full page hero image with some text on the top, or probably a full page video running in the background. So these are all common design patterns, and people want some themes that they could take these things as a starting point, and they can build on top of that. So I just recently started this functionality themes project, and I've released, I think, 3 so far, including 1 today. So all these are basically customized Genesis sample themes.
Actually, I had seen that, Sridhar, and I thought great concept, and in fact, an awesome concept. And it really comes down to it's just one of those struggles to manage all of the code snippets and all of the things that you might use. And I use I have used the Genesis sample theme as our starter theme. I have to admit that I use your starter now as my starter, because you've got some other good things in it as well too. And I've got another file that or another directory that we have in there with just a ton of code snippets in that we can just switch on and off. So we either just uncomment them, or if we need to use them, or they're all commented out if we don't. But there are some there that we use on a fairly regular basis, and others that we might use at some other times. And then we've got additional templates that for specific things that we might want to use as well. But just managing it from I suppose from a website developer perspective, so that you've got things that you might use. Projects come along, you've got some things in your tool bag that you might use, and other things that you pretty much always use. But we wrap them all up in one sort of starter theme. But what I see with your these other themes that you've got, these other starter themes are, well, let's look at our starting point and let's just use exactly what we want. So I mean, it's just really just a question of organisation. How do you organise your, say, starter theme with your project so you've got what you need, but you haven't got too much there at the end of the day?
I personally do not believe in starter themes. I always use Genesis sample as the starting point for all my custom website builds. A starter theme, I feel, is just like an overkill. When you want to build something, you got to remove a lot of stuff. So why don't you build with something which does not have anything and add on top of it, rather than putting everything in and removing stuff? So I always use Genesis sample as my, at least for now, as my starting point. And I store out all my snippets in a app called Snippets Lab. It's for Mac. So I just assign a shortcut key, Control S, and it brings up a window from the menu bar, and I do a search and then hit enter. It gets pasted in my active coding application, whether it is Sublime Text or Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So all the code is in one single place, and I can just use search to bring it up and paste in.
So you prefer that to using, say, something like GitHub?
Yeah. The problem with using GitHub, or even GitHub has a Mac app that you can use to store snippets in it. But the problem is the retrieval of this code. You have to switch to the app. You have to do a search, and then you got to select the text. You got to copy. You got to come back here in your code editor and paste. So retrieval of code should be fast, and you should not have to leave your existing code editor.
And look, that's why I've developed this other folder of a whole lot of snippets that we've got that we switch on and off, just because we haven't been able to find an easy way just to pull it in. But it sounds like this Mac app Snippets Lab solves that problem.
Yeah. And before that, I used to use Sublime Text. I've recently switched to Visual Studio Code, but when I was using Sublime Text, I have created a package for Sublime Text of Genesis snippets. So you just bring up the command palette by pressing Command-Shift-P, start typing what you want it to do. For example, let's say you want to add support for the archive description of CPTs. So just start typing CPT archive, and it brings up, you hit enter, it gets pasted in Sublime Text. So I know that Visual Studio Code also has the provision to add in code snippets, and there is one existing repository in GitHub already, which has been which is based on my Sublime Text Genesis snippets as a base. So I could probably use that in the future and then tweak it.
So not only you on the web for Genesis snippets, you're also on other coding programs as well. You're contributing everywhere.
If you go into GitHub and take a look at my repositories, you'll find a few other things. But mostly it's Genesis now. It's almost from the time I get up in the morning till the time I go to sleep. It's always Genesis which goes on in my head, all the various child themes. I know exactly what code is there in which child theme and in which file. So I'm like obsessed with it.
So you use the Genesis sample thing. How come you know so much about all the other themes as well?
That's because my site's members, they ask questions on how to customize the other child themes more than Genesis sample, because in Genesis sample there is nothing to customize. You only build on top of it. Whereas if you take these other child themes like Infinite Pro, Parallax Pro, all these themes, they want some changes to be done in it. They don't know how to do it, or they're not sure. So then they ask me how to do it, and then I have all these child themes demo versions as individual websites on my local host. So I simply make changes to it, and I share the steps as a tutorial.
Right. So do you do any other work, or this is it? Yeah, you only do the tutorials, or are you building sort of sites for customers as well?
I do build sites for customers, but not. It's very less. It's very rarely, only once in a while. You know what happens? It's a funny thing. When we moved into this house, we had one telephone point in the kitchen. There's only one telephone point that's in the kitchen, and all the wires started over there, being collected there. I had to plug the router, I had to plug the modem, so I had to plug something else. And my wife was getting frustrated. She was like, "Why are you bringing your business into the kitchen?" So I did
all great
search for telephone technician, and I called that guy. He came over, and then he moved that point from that into the office room. So then he asked me, "Mate, what do you do?" I said, "I build websites." He said, "Oh, wow, I need a website. I already have a website which needs some, redesign. Can you do it?" I said, "Okay, fine." So he said, "I will not charge you money. So you build my website, how much ever is extra, I'm willing to pay you." So I built that website, and he came back and said, "I have 3 more websites. Can you do them for me?" And he recommended me to one of his other friends. He gave me 2 more websites. So even here in real world, it's through word of mouth and personal referral things, and it's working fine like that.
Yeah, that's cool. If you weren't doing web development at all, what do you think you would be doing? Would you be a skydiver or a builder or an accountant, or what do you think you'd be doing?
I will probably be learning chess and be a chess player.
Chess master. Nice.
I'm not a master. I want to become one.
I think I got second place in the chess competition in primary school, and I won $10. I was really proud about that, but my chess career didn't really go much further than that.
Okay. Have you heard about Lichess?
No.
So there's a website called LICITSS, and that's currently the #1 website where you can play games with others or host games. You can invite your friends to join in a game. So maybe you and I should have one.
Okay, that sounds scary, but I'm up for the challenge.
Can you play for $10?
$10.
It's been a few years since primary school.
I can see which way that $10 is going to go.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions? Or Sridhar, do you have anything else you'd like to say, or any other side businesses you want to plug?
No, as I said, I have this genesiscustomizations.com where you can visit, and if you have any customization requirements to be done in your Genesis website, you come there, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you in a day or 2, and we'll take it forward from there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
So the big question is, do we get to meet you at WordCamp?
I have not visited a single WordCamp till now in my life.
What?
There's still tickets left. Brisbane.
When is it?
It's warmer up here.
It's in 3 weeks. It's on the
There's
22nd and 23rd of July.
There's going to be lots of people as well. There'll be lots of people there, so you'll feel right at home.
Crowds and warm weather.
Nick and I are even speaking separately.
Oh, are we? Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I will look into this.
Very good.
Yeah, coming up.
It'd be good to see you.
Yeah, it'd be great to catch up with you.
And to those who are watching who haven't tried Genesis, give it a try. You might like it. It's not initially, but if you stick to it, you will be able to do things much faster, much easier. And if you observe the code in the Genesis child themes, you will see how a website is built, and you go through all this code and store these snippets somewhere so you can recall and reuse them. And then you should to basically build a website using Genesis. The best tip that I can give you is to study code that's already there in all these child themes. And once you do that, you will be most probably in a position where you can recreate any existing website in Genesis using WordPress.
And if you do get stuck, visit sridharkatakam.com. And I believe he's got some free tutorials on his membership site. So have a look through there, or you can tweet him. You said the hashtag was GenesisWP on Twitter. He is Srikat on Twitter. That's SRIKAT. And you can find him on his website. And as Paul was saying before, you just search for any kind of Genesis tutorial and he'll pop up there in Google.
Anyway.
All right. Awesome to have you on.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you there, and we'll catch up with you one time weekend.
All right. I hope to make it there and meet you all in person. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about myself and my business. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sridhar.
Bye.